Hey, welcome back to Red Shoes Diary. I hope this finds you fat and sassy. Hope you ain't melted down from the heat. It's been a little warm this week. I hope you found you a good shady spot. Up here on the ridge again. Need to clean up my fields. They look a little rough. Breeze is blowing, so I hope you can hear me. And I hope that things are going well in your world. It's been a pretty good week. Can't quarrel. Been watching them videos of the people who's come from Europe from different places over here to America during the soccer and stuff. Pretty interesting to listen to these people talk because they're talking about how bad, you know, people have talked all these years about America, and then they come over here and people are friendly, helping them, doing this, doing that, and a lot of them's never heard of a rodeo or maybe drag racing. A lot of them have never been to a super like a Walmart or a Costco or anything else. That just blows them away. But they talk about how, a lot of them's like, I don't want to leave. And then we got our own people who live here who are talking about, well, I want to leave. This America's bad. Well, if it's that bad, why don't you leave? And it's sad because we're one of the greatest nations it's ever been. And I always will believe that's through the good Lord. But we take a lot of it for granted. That's the sad part. We take a lot of stuff for granted, and people just, they live in their own bubble, their own little world here, and that's all they've known. But if you took them out and take them over across seas to a lot of it, see how a lot of people in different countries live, I think it'd be an eye opener to a lot of those folks. We take for granted that you can worship and pray pretty much wherever you want to do. We're open to all that, and there's a lot of countries that's a no-no. You don't get that, and people don't understand that. You decide you want something to eat, especially if you live near a city in the middle of the night. You can do Uber Eats and have it just delivered to your door. People got spoiled to have everything at their fingertips. Just right there, I've got it. I don't need. A lot of places there's nothing like that. And it's sad that people don't realize how blessed they are here. And if it really offends you that bad, there's a plane leaving probably every minute out of America going somewhere if you want to leave. If it's that bad, or you can walk across the borders. I'm sure if you walk across to Mexico, they'll welcome you right in, give you everything you need. No. But anyway, on a different note, friends and stuff, different things going on. A friend called and he said, hey, back of this, he said, you come look at a tree, maybe cut it, pull it, whatever. He said, a man come in, bought a place beside of him. He said, he's going to cut this tree with an electric chainsaw. I'm like, okay. I'm not talking about the battery-operated ones. They come out with some very large battery-operated chainsaws now. It's pretty impressive. This is a true blue. Plug it in. You'll run your extension cords 100 feet, 200 feet out through there and use it. That's what he's going to use. I'm like, okay. I said, well, I'll come by and look at it. Well, I swung by and checked it out. Now, this tree's a pine, probably 60, 70 foot tall. And probably the base is 30, 32 inches, maybe. 30 inches, 30, 32 inches. So, and I think he had about a 16-inch electric chainsaw. I'm not exactly sure if it would have been able to reach all the way through the center, but he planned on doing it. Well, we got in the conversation about it, and he done had cables and maybe pulling this, that. And I said, well, yeah. Got in the price, and I'm like, well, how much is it worth to you? And he's like, well, $0. I gave him a price, which was too low, but my buddy, I'm thinking, well, if it goes the other way, it's going to rip out a lot of stuff close to his place. So I said, I need to bring a tractor and grapper, move this stuff out of the way. All right. So I went and got my tractor stuff, come back, we hooked the cable to it, pull it so it piled the way we wanted. And I went sawing, and my chain was a little dull, I'll be honest with you, but it's still, we got her laid down, and it pulled a little to the left a little. But, didn't hit nothing, didn't really do nothing, wasn't nothing wrong with it, pulled a little to the left. And that was my fault, the way I'd cut it. Well, of course, this guy's like, well, that was cut wrong. I'm like, okay. Because he's told me where he lived, where he come from, and I'm thinking, I wonder just how many trees you cut in your time, especially using electric chainsaw. Then he's telling me how he done this and done that, and his hinges and this and that, and I'm thinking, well, by the way you're talking, he's watched a lot of YouTube is what I'm thinking. But like I said, he's still correcting my setup. And I just sort of looked at him and said, did we hit anything? I said, it's just off a little bit, but did we hit it? Well, no. I said, well, it'll be okay. So I proceeded, we cut the limbs. I got the log parts out of the way. Then we cut up the limbs, and I hauled them up to the brush pile. And where it landed actually was better because it's easier to get both sides of the tree. The limbs, just grab them, haul them out. And got it all done and cleaned up. And he's looking at me and goes, man, that took me over 2 days to clean that up. Well, that only took a couple hours what we did. Well, that's fine. I'm glad we got took care of, whatever. But my portion of the story is what caught me today. And I don't know why it's running on me today, but it did. Was that part. Well, that was cut wrong. It should have this instead of that. Sad part is that's how we are with religion today, with our churches and stuff. Somebody will look at one thing, well, that's wrong. So everything's wrong. And well, they were done this, they were done that. We're so busy correcting people, we're so busy thinking that, we know a little, so we automatically know a lot. We don't know it all, and that ain't the way it is. We're so not critical. That ain't exactly the word I'm thinking of. But anyway, of the smallest things. We look for small things to prove our intelligence, or a lot of times it's just to start a fight, to argue. So if I get an argument out, that goes to prove I'm right. People has that mindset a lot, and that's sad. But we losing a lot. People watch us a lot. And you can hear people all the time go, well, no, why should I go to church? None of y'all agree on anything. Which one's right? Which one's wrong? Y'all are busy. I mean, that's even lots of times in the same denomination. And that's the sad part. There's a lot of churches, it might be a few miles apart, but they don't interact with each other. Well, the way they look at that's wrong. We're not going to interact with them people. We're not going to talk to the people. The good thing about it is, I'm glad Jesus wasn't that way, folks. Think about it. Who did he go and sit and talk to and stuff? Think about that. He didn't discriminate against anybody. He talked to everybody. He was part of that. And I'm sure in all those years he had heard all kinds of different explanations and stuff. Which, God's the, don't get me wrong, Jesus is the end of the conversation. Ain't no argument there. So don't think I'm disputing anything that man said. But still, what I'm saying is, why in our life have we become so critical, that's the word I'm looking for, that if it ain't exactly a certain way, then it's wrong. And we have to tell somebody. We have to prove our knowledge. Especially when it comes to religion, church, worshiping God, I think there are black and whites dead in a lot of the Bible. Certain things is said and done, do not do this. Pretty blunt. That's wrong. It's just blunt. There's no other way to read that part. You can take it and have somebody reword it for you so that it makes you feel good and pat yourself on the back, but still wrong. But anyway, I guess that's my question. Why? Why are we always so critical of everybody else's thinking? Why do we feel like we have to correct everybody? especially when it comes, I'm a firm believer. 4 people can read, say, 3 verses in a Bible and get a different meaning out of it. And if you feel right in your heart and you feel like that message that reverberates to you, it felt your heart, you're good with yourself, you're fine with that, then that message, the way it was, the way you read it, the way you understood it, that's what God wanted you to understand, folks. And all of us could get different meanings, but it applies, but all of our lives are different. We all live different lives. And maybe that message, that verse, impacts me different to you. That verse that knocked you on your feet, it didn't hit me that way. Because maybe where I'm at in my life, it did not react that way. But another verse will. But what is it that we can look at the results and find some reason to pick it apart? It's a sad thought. So ask yourself that. Are you doing to really help somebody, or that, or are you doing to prove a point that you're intelligent or you're smarter than the other people? I don't know. I'm not. It's just a question. Maybe that's what we're going to do, is just start asking questions. You fill in the answers. Like the old test, I give you a question, you fill it out. If you're old school, get you a pencil and a paper and write it out in cursive. And for young folks, I guess you best get on the phone, just type it out. Use emojis, I guess, if that's the only way you can communicate. Anyway, folks, I hope you have a great week. I think it's supposed to be hotter this coming week, so try to stay in the shade, hydrate, stay out of trouble. AC if you got it, whatever's going on with your life, folks. But y'all be careful out there. And be thankful the good Lord's given us another day. Y'all take care of yourself out there. May the good Lord take a liking to you, not too soon. And as always, Austin.